So many have started calling this season the Great Pause because a lot has paused. And we're reminded again and again, and especially this week, that so much hasn't paused, including state violence against our Black siblings. As Unitarian Universalists, we have principles that guide us in making sense of our world. One of them is that we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Another way to say that is Black Lives Matter. In our principles, it talks again and again about justice, from justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, so interpersonal justice, to the biggest justice we can imagine, a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. It says nothing about property. So we know that looting and rioting and destruction of property is happening. Some places that I care deeply about in Minnesota have been affected. And we know that anyone who meets looting with shooting is not speaking out of our value system, because that is not what we believe. There is no moral equivalence between the destruction of property and the destruction of life. We know that for sure. Now, some words, especially for Black, Indigenous folks and people of color who are with us today. First, thank you for trusting us enough to show up to this space this morning. I am so sorry that this happens again and again and again. I want to make sure that you know that there are some wonderful Black, Indigenous, and people of color Unitarian Universalist activists, organizers, and religious leaders who are convening online spaces for folks who share their identities for lament, for comfort, for connection, for organizing. If you want to be connected to any of that, let me know and I will get you connected. And now some words, mostly for white folks, but for anyone who is listening. The only good thing about an evil as pervasive and permeating as this one, as white supremacy, as institutional racism, is that there are so many ways to work to overcome it. So I invite you to learn. There are books and workshops and all kinds of good learning opportunities. I can connect you to them if you don't have them in front of you. And know that learning only transforms your reality. It doesn't transform the world. And so that learning needs to be put into practice, because we could spend all of our days reading all of the good books that are on these issues. And that is not enough. We can protest, and I know many of you did that yesterday evening and yesterday afternoon. And we also know that that is not enough, because often the change comes in showing up to the boring meetings that happen in our city that talk about policing policy or school boards or all of the institutions that we have in our town and in our world that perpetuate the systems that we are trying to overcome. I invite you to be really clear about who you are following in this work. And not just on social media, but with your time and with your money. In my life, I have a few folks who are more connected with communities of color, who are people of color, who when they ask me to do something, I say yes, because I know that they have thought about it. I know that they care deeply, and I know that they can see the end, even if I can't. Who are those people in your life? And if you don't have them yet and want to find them, I'm here for a conversation about that. And finally, I invite you to get really clear about your power. all of us have power in our various institutions. So some of us have power in workplaces or neighborhood associations or our buildings or our families and various roles, leadership roles in the church and beyond in the community. And think about how, and we have money, which is also power, and think about how you are using that power to transform the world. As People's Church, we claim a mission to be a beloved community, embracing and serving our diverse world. That does not pause. So come, let us gather together. Come, let us worship.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to People's Church. My name is Laura McClellan, and I'm here as part of the Sunday Services Committee. To those of you who are visitors for the first time, welcome. To those who come regularly, welcome. Welcome to all. If you are lonely, here you will find a warm companionship. Here in this sanctuary of hope, you can find a new seat at the table of life and feast yourself on love and fellowship. And you will not hunger for the touch of a human hand or an embrace of your searching spirit. If you are afraid or if you've been abused, if you ache with fatigue, here you will find rest. You will be comforted. Your spiritual wounds will be dressed and your courage will be returned to you. You will be led beside the still waters and your soul will be restored. If you seek to understand, here you will be encouraged in your search. Wonderful pathways will be lit unto you, and wherever your journeys take you, you will know that you can always come home again to this place, made sacred by our love for you. This is a sanctuary of the soul. There are no boundaries in this cathedral of hope. To the collective wisdom of all humankind and our painful but glorious history are open to you here. Your heart and your mind need never struggle with one another in a Unitarian Universalist congregation. We have no fear of science. We have no fear of knowledge here. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association and part of a tradition of liberal religion. Here, our mission is to become a beloved community, embracing and serving our diverse world. We are open to all. This morning's words for welcome come from David R. Chapman.
Good morning. Our first song this morning is Filled with Loving Kindness. I invite you to find a posture that's comfortable for singing and to join me if you want. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole.
If you are lighting a chalice at home, you are encouraged to put in our chat box, "A chalice is lit in," and wherever you are. In a time of uncertainty, when everything around us is changing constantly, each day new developments, rising numbers, changing guidelines, when the world we live in suddenly seems upside down and topsy-turvy, we light our chalice to remind ourselves of our grounding in our faith. We remember that the flaming chalice came into being as a beacon of hope during World War II, a secret symbol that offered help. In the midst of it all, we wrap ourselves in the warm light of a familiar flame, a reminder of the strength that emerges when we come together in community.
Hello, everyone. I have several announcements for us today. The first is tomorrow is the deadline for our votes at our annual meeting this year. So if you are a church member, probably the best way to vote is online right now, given the time frame. You should have links to the voting form in your email. Please vote. Thank you to everyone who has already voted. We've been very pleased with the turnout so far. Next Sunday is our bridging service, in part our bridging service, where we celebrate milestones in the lives of our children, and we're hoping to expand that beyond just the children and youth this year. So if there is something that you have learned this year that you would like to share with the whole congregation, please send that to me. I'm hoping to create a collage of many of our voices reflecting on the learnings of this year. It can be pandemic related, it doesn't have to be, but send me a message, a note, and all of the various ways we know how to communicate. I would appreciate that, and we'll use that, put that together for the service next week. Those are our announcements.
Bailey Bunny, who preferred they and them pronouns, was feeling disappointed that they could not go over to their friend's house to hang out with everyone. A mysterious virus had spread through the Bunny family glen, and in order not to spread the virus, families were encouraged to stay home. And after months of staying home, the Bunny family was getting very restless in their small burrow. With the approach of summer, they were all anxious to get back out and see their friends again. Some of Bailey's friends were spending time at each other's houses playing video games, but not them, because their parents thought it was too risky to be in the same room that close with others. This made Bailey feel angry and left out. As Unitarian Universalists, the Bunny family believed in hard science, and evidence indicated it was not yet safe for groups to hang out and play together without some safety precautions. At first, they thought it was just for a month, and then 2 months, and then 3 months, and now they had no idea how much longer this was going to last. And being cooped up for months is really hard. And the worst part is not having any idea of what the next year was even going to look like. Were they going to get to go to school in the fall? Were they going to ever get to hang out with their friends again? Basically, the whole thing felt awful and unfair. And Bailey was fed up. So after consulting with Betsy, Bonnie, Barclay, Brooke, and Benjamin, they realized it was time to call a Bunny family meeting because they were all feeling the same way. So as the whole Bunny family gathered together, they were ready to tell their parents exactly how they felt. And Bailey started. First of all, Bailey said, my friends' parents are starting to let them get together. And it's not fair that I can't hang out and play video games too. Yeah, said Brooke. My friends had an impromptu soccer practice on Saturday at Sydney Skunk's house. And then they got to go for a trip to the ice cream parlor. And I missed out on everything. Benjamin indicated that he really wanted to go camping with the Boy Scouts this summer, if they get to go. And he was really worried that his parents wouldn't even let him go if everybody else got to go. It's not fair, they exclaimed. Barclay indicated that he could not go much longer without seeing his boyfriend, or he was going to go stir crazy. He did not mention that he was even thinking about sneaking out against his parents' knowledge. Betsy is really hoping that all her summer camps aren't going to be canceled, and she's not even sure if her parents are going to let her go if they aren't. Bonnie is devastated that all her friends get to hang out at the skateboard park together, and she's the only one that can't go. After listening calmly to their children, Mama and Papa Bunny decided perhaps the best approach was to simply be honest. The truth is, said Papa Bunny, while looking quite somber, we don't know. We don't know when the right time is to go back out and do the things that we love to do with our friends and our family. The Bunny siblings looked a little incredulously at each other because it seemed like Mama and Papa Bunny always knew the answers, and the fact that they didn't was a little perplexing for the Bunny siblings. There's so much we don't know right now about this virus, said Mama Bunny. This is what we do know. 100,000 have died in our country. We know it's very contagious. We know we want to keep all of you safe. We know that wearing masks, staying 6 feet away, and staying outside increases our chances of staying safe and healthy. But if I'm playing soccer, I'm outside. It'll be all right. So I should be able to do that, demanded Brooke. Right. I can wear my mask while I'm skateboarding and stay away from others. So why can't I do that, whined Bonnie? We hear your requests. We hear your protests. We will consider them, Papa Bunny replied. What do you do after you're done skateboarding and everybody gets in the same car to go to the ice cream shop? That question kind of hung in the air for a little bit as the Bunny siblings realized that maybe this was a little more complicated than they first thought. Papa said, we know that some, but not all, of your friends are starting to hang out together again. We are not positive of the best ways to move back into more activity with others and mitigate the risk factors at the same time. Mama Bunny just named what they were all feeling. We miss our friends and our activities too. We miss Grandma and Grandpa. We miss our church family. We're really disappointed to cancel our family vacation this summer. We hear your disappointment. We hear your struggle with not knowing how long this will go on or what things are going to look like this summer, this fall, next winter. Nobody knows. We just don't know. It's hard to walk that murky line between trying to stay safe and trying to live our lives. It will look different for every family. The key thing is that we work together and try to navigate this new territory. Let's talk through some possibilities. See if we can come up with a plan that feels like it will work for everybody. Perhaps with some compromises, we can work together to find a path forward that feels more fair. At that, all the Bunny siblings were feeling a little better after their family meeting. They felt like their feelings were heard, their frustrations were acknowledged, and they knew they weren't alone. Whatever happened, they knew they could figure it out and navigate the uncertainty of the future together.
Thank you, Diane. I feel very seen in those bunnies. In a lot of ways, it feels like we're kind of coming to the end of the beginning of this season. We're starting to settle in for the long haul, figure out how we live like this for a while. And as I introduce the offering, I want to express my gratitude for two programs in the church that have held us together for this beginning part that are now coming to an end or being reshaped in new ways. First, when we decided that, or when the decision was made, when we decided to not gather in person, I was worried that people would fall through the cracks and not be connected anymore. So I sent out a note saying, who can make phone calls? And about a dozen, maybe a few more of you responded and said, I can call people in the church. And they have been calling with different regularities or emailing or weaving connections in different ways for the past 10 weeks or so. And it has been amazing. We have heard about needs in our community. We've been able to connect people with resources. People have explained that we are doing this Zoom meeting, and so people were able to come to services. And that group has grown weary or has decided they want to redirect that connecting energy in other ways. Maybe they think, I have other friends who are even more isolated and I need to connect them. So our effort to call everyone in the church regularly is ending. And I am so grateful that we were able to do that for this season. The second is I want to express my gratitude to Laura Boltman for the story time that she has led every weekday for, since this started, basically. So I can't even count how many times she has sung This Little Light of Mine to a gathering of children. When we thought this was just going to be for a couple weeks, she said, I can do it every weekday, after I sent an email saying, can you do one story time? And she responded with so much generosity and grace, telling stories and connecting some of the youngest members of our community, but also people of all ages, and it has been a gift. And because other things are happening in her life, she is stepping back, but still doing it once a week, she's decided, which we are very grateful for. So Wednesday mornings. And so we will be figuring out in the coming weeks and months what it looks like to be connected, though we are distant, for the longer term. And if you have ideas of what that looks like and how we can keep building connections and keep knitting our community together, I would love to hear them. But I am so grateful for those of you who have taken on this work, those groups, and I know so many more of you have been reaching out, sending mail, making phone calls to one another. And that really matters, especially now. So thank you for being the generous and caring people that you are. And only one of the ways you express your generosity is money. But that matters too. The offering will now be received.
Please join in giving thanks for all that sustains us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone.
Now I invite you to take a few deep breaths with me as we move into a breathing meditation to just help settle ourselves. Just to ensure you're taking deep belly breaths, you may want to place your hand on your tummy. Notice if it rises and falls. And as we breathe together, I'm going to just say these words by Thich Nhat Hanh to help us settle into our bodies. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. And breathing out, I know I am breathing out. I invite you to just settle into the preciousness of the present moment. Breathing in, my breath grows deep, and breathing out, my breath grows slow. Breathing in, I invite a sense of calm. And breathing out, I feel ease. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. And breathing out, I know that this is a wonderful moment. As you inhale, I invite you to notice if there are places of tension in your body. You may wish to relax your shoulders, your jaw, your forehead, the pit of your stomach. As you exhale, just simply invite your body to release and to relax whatever you may be holding. We are living through surreal times and so many levels of what's happening in the world today, with so much suffering and injustice and pain. As you keep taking deep breaths, I invite you to notice whatever feelings are present for you in your body and your heart right now. These are difficult times. Whatever arises for you, just tenderly acknowledge your truth at this moment. You may wish to place your hand on your heart or another comforting gesture as you sit with your feelings and take a few deep breaths and acknowledge whatever is true for you and whatever you're feeling, to just be present. As you breathe in, you may wish to invite a tender inner smile, gentleness as you recognize your feelings. And as you exhale, just allow those feelings to move in and through you. As you inhale, you may wish to imagine your heart being filled with loving kindness and compassion for yourself. And then as you exhale, you may wish to breathe out love and peace and extend that to all those who are suffering in the midst of these difficult times. Breathing in loving kindness and compassion. Breathing out and extending out a sense of peace and love to all. Breathing in loving kindness and compassion for ourselves, for all who need it right now around this planet, all beings. Breathing out love and light and healing and justice for all who need it on this planet. On this day, may we be filled with mindful awareness, with deepest wisdom and abundant gratitude, unlimited patience. May we have an open heart and an open mind. May we be filled with flexibility and fluidity. May we be filled with compassion, with curiosity, and with humility. May we regard ourselves and others with skillful action, with loving kindness for ourselves and for all beings. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love. Open my heart to all that I seek. All that I seek. Let me be part of the love. Open my heart to all that I seek. All that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
For the children. The rising hills, the slopes of statistics lie before us, the steep climb of everything going up as we all go down. In the next century, or the one beyond that, they say, are valleys, pastures. We can meet there in peace if we make it. To climb these coming crests, one word to you and your children. Stay together, learn the flowers, go light. Tigers. What are we now but voices who promise each other a life neither one can deliver? Not for lack of wanting, but wanting won't make it so. We cling to a vine at the cliff's edge. There are tigers above and below. Let us love one another and let go.
Choices. Yesterday, there were fewer cars at the arrivals dock at the Portland airport than there were dogs being walked on my block. Yesterday, a friend reported a clandestine meeting, a walk with her elderly mother, careful to keep a 6-foot distance as they strolled together in the sunshine. Yesterday, schools were closed, and bars and restaurants. We no longer gather laughing in bustling crowds of strangers who might become friends. But today, people in Italy sang together out their balconies. Meals on Wheels drivers put bags of food on doorknobs, backed up 6 feet, and waited to see if the seniors were okay. Today, the technology that we swore was killing our relationships, those phones our youth sink into, ignoring the world in front of them, is saving us, letting us gather, see one another's faces. Tomorrow, fewer people will sicken and die if we keep our distance today. Imagine if all difficult choices had such clear and obvious results, and then living as if they do.
Of course. All right. I invite you to sing this song with me, Blessed Spirit of My Life. Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. Then when life is done for me, let love be my legacy.
I don't want you to die. I know you will die someday, but I don't want it to happen anytime soon. I especially don't want you to die in this season when I and others who love you can't come to see you, when we can't gather to support those who love you best after your death. And I especially don't want people's people to infect one another with this deadly virus. We need to take all reasonable precautions to keep that from happening. I want you all to live well and happy, peaceful and whole for a while. That is the message for today. The rest of the sermon is just commentary on that idea. There's a Lutheran prayer that I love. I learned it years ago and have carried it close and have been repeating it to myself over and over and over again in recent weeks. It is, "Oh God, you have called your servants to ventures of which we cannot see the ending, by paths as yet untrodden, through perils unknown. Give us faith to go out with good courage, not knowing where we go, but only that your hand is leading us and your love supporting us." This feels like it is written for this moment. And while the theology doesn't wholly fit my beliefs, and I imagine it doesn't fit yours entirely either, I can't stop saying it. But if you like something that might work a little better, we have that hymn we just sang. "Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity, let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision, clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, hear the still small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion, be the source of my intuition. Then, when life is done for me, let love be my legacy." We are in the midst of ventures of which we cannot see the ending, paths as yet untrodden, perils unknown. I have no idea if some sort of supernatural being called us to this moment, but I know we are in it. We are keeping our distance from another, or working essential jobs and managing risks as best we can. Those of us who are raising children are doing that in ways we never anticipated. We are doing so many things, all of us, in ways we never anticipated. We are more anxious and more fearful. We are calculating risk before we do activities that we used to do every day without thinking about it. We wait for scientific understanding of this virus to improve and for progress to be made on developing treatments and a vaccine. Many of us are working harder than ever. Some of us are laid off or furloughed. All of it is a struggle. The perils are unknown and we cannot see the ending. We follow executive orders and try to figure out what becomes possible with each new one. We try to keep track of what is open and closed. We postpone our plans and postpone them again, or radically reimagine them. So today I'm focusing about the path ahead for our church, the as yet untrodden path that we are walking down. And I can tell you now, if you are hoping for timelines or specific dates for some sort of return to normal, you won't hear them from me today. I don't know them, and I want to be as honest with you as I can, following the example of those parental bunnies. I can say that there are some things that I know for sure. I know that worship services are especially dangerous for the spread of respiratory viruses. Singing with others is one of the most efficient ways to transmit COVID-19. I hate this so much. I miss singing with you. It is not the same to sing along with Savannah in my living room. I miss our choir. And in addition, when we gather, we are close to each other, offering hugs and handshakes. We have people of all ages, from elders who are especially vulnerable to this virus, to young children who are terrible at keeping distance between them and the people they care about. And it is an extended time that we're together, not a quick interaction. Our service itself is about 75 minutes, and we linger before and after. And we have found that we are able to replicate some semblance of a Sunday service online. For all these reasons, our Sunday morning experience will be slower to return to normal than many other parts of our lives. I grieve this fiercely right now, and I know many of you do too. As people in the church are starting to think about our first steps toward reopening, we are prioritizing what cannot be done remotely. Some staff members need access to the building to do their jobs. And this spring, we had to cut short our middle school, Our Whole Lives, comprehensive sexuality education program. Our Whole Lives, which is really one of the most important things we do at our church, is an amazing program with the potential to transform our relationships with ourselves and each other. And we offer it at many ages at People's Church, but the middle school curriculum is the longest and most comprehensive. And we cannot offer it now. We can't offer it online because it is impossible to guarantee confidentiality. Y'all can't see who else might be in the room with me right now. We also can't do it online because our skilled facilitators need to be able to gauge body language and all of the other subtle cues that can show how a participant is doing. And all of that is really hard to do in this format. So leaders, both in our congregation and at the UUA and the United Church of Christ, who are our partners in offering OWL, are trying to figure out how to do this now. What is safe? And we are hoping that this is one of the first things we are able to pick up when it is safe to gather indoors in larger numbers. So we will prioritize what we can't do virtually, and then we will gather in smaller numbers before larger numbers to limit the possibility of a super spreader event. Services will be meeting on Zoom for a long time. Some of you have told me you really like this format and hope we continue some sort of Zoom offering going forward. We might, we'll see. And the Unitarian Universalist Association has recommended no large in-person gatherings until next year, May of 2021. At People's Church, we have not made any decisions that are so far-reaching yet. Our services are virtual through August at this point. I imagine that will be extended. I've already started trying to imagine a drive-through or walk-up water ceremony, maybe a week of people being able to come to the church and deposit their water. We will figure that out. I've heard from a few of you about wondering about if it's possible to have some sort of small in-person service with no singing and no physical contact. Maybe with a rotation or reservation system to keep our attendance low enough to follow social distancing best practices. That's also possible. It will be different than what we offer here on Zoom because it isn't possible for me to preach to you on the screen and to preach to the people in the same space as me and have both groups have a good experience. But there's a lot of possibilities. I was talking about this with a friend the other day, and she suggested instead of singing together, we go all percussion. So everybody in the church gets a triangle or a xylophone, and we do our music together that way, which would be a cacophony. But it's good to have ideas. We're trying to see the opportunities that this pandemic give us. And we will follow public health guidelines as we make decisions. We will keep you posted. And again, I welcome your ideas. None of us have ever done this before. And we know that Sunday mornings are only a small portion of what we do together. We have so many other ways we are People's Church. Chalice Circle, children's and youth programs, supporting one another in hard times, the work of committees, governance, and the work of learning, hospitality, love, and justice. And this continues and will take a lot of creativity and flexibility. You all are figuring this out already in ways that inspire me. And as we settle into this way of being together, prepare for a longer haul than we anticipated in March, we will continue to be creative and flexible and find the ways to build a new way together. We will set aside as what is not worthy of our attention right now, or what is too complicated to have a good democratic process with on Zoom and across distances, and focus on our mission. People's Church is a beloved community, embracing and serving our diverse world. But what about the money and the budget and all of the logistics of being a church? Some of you might be wondering. I know some of you are worried about the church's financial position. The short answer is we're okay. Here's the longer answer. Since we closed the building and moved online, our income is down as a church. Some of this is pledges and other contributions from people's people. It's harder to navigate to a website to give or to remember to write a check and mail it than it is to just put something in the offering basket on Sunday mornings. Some of this is building rentals. We also didn't hold our silent auction this year. Because of the hard work of Alan Hunt, Barb Davis, and Dana Kabinski, we applied for and received a federal payroll protection program loan, which has covered staff salaries and other expenses for the past 8 weeks. And this has made a real difference for us. Looking ahead, church members and friends have pledged about 10% less to the church for the coming fiscal year than we did last year. We know that other income will likely be down, as building rentals will probably not happen for a while. I'm meeting tomorrow with a couple of leaders of the Holiday Bazaar to begin to imagine what our biggest fundraising event might look like this November. Even facing a year that will be hard in a lot of ways, including financially, the church is in a good position. Because of the generosity of generations of people's people and several years of our income exceeding our expenses, we have healthy financial reserves and a significant amount of money in an unrestricted investment fund, which is in addition to endowed funds where we receive interest from. And we have debt. As many of you know, we took on a building loan to finance the construction of the newer part of our building 9 years ago. We are finishing up our third capital campaign to pay off that debt. The debt currently stands at about $200,000, though we have some contributions on hand that haven't yet been put toward that amount. A few weeks ago, your board voted to extend the loan with the bank for another 5 years to give us flexibility as we figure out the best way to retire that debt. We had a tentative plan for a small fundraising campaign in the fall to address that debt, but I imagine that's not going to happen for a while. All of this again to say that our financial position is okay. We will survive this. We have reserves to help us weather this rainiest of days because of your generosity. Thank you. And we continue to depend on your generosity. The Finance Committee and the board will be closely monitoring our financial position and will continue to be good stewards of the resources we trust them to oversee. I'm grateful for them, for their service and leadership in these days. I return again to the prayer I shared at the beginning. Oh God, you have called your servants to ventures of which we cannot see the ending, by paths as yet untrodden, through perils unknown. Give us faith to go out with good courage, not knowing where we go, but only that your hand is leading us and your love supporting us. These days call for all of the courage and compassion, all of the gentleness and generosity we can muster. The uncertainty regularly overwhelms me. It is hard to live in this world. And we know that the only way forward is holding fast to our values. Respect for every person, justice, equity, and compassion with each other, a world community of peace and justice, remembering that we are all connected and making choices based on those truths that we hold. We don't know where we are going, but we know we are going together as people of love, people of hope, and people of change. So we navigate the paths ahead, the paths as yet untrodden, through perils unknown. None of us asked to live through this, and yet we are. And we will not pretend that we can go back to some sort of normal until science and public health and experts tell us that it is a reasonably safe choice for us to make. I grieve that we won't be together for a long time. I miss you, and I love you too much to jeopardize you. I don't want you to die. So may we be patient and creative. May we be courageous and compassionate, gentle and generous. And may we stay apart physically, but hold close in community until we are together again. May it be so. May we make it so. And amen.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere.
keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
So friends, may we hold fast to our values and work for the transformation of the world. A world that needs us and our love, our hope, and our power to make it better. May we be as creative and patient, courageous, gentle, and generous as we can muster, and do the hard and important and beautiful work of creating community when we can't actually see each other's faces in person. It is hard, and we are up for this challenge. Let us go in peace and go in love. And we will be doing our coffee hour, our no coffee 15-minute conversation time after the postlude. So if you would like to linger, stay for that, please do. If not, blessings on your day.